Good afternoon, pilot teachers, and good afternoon, students. Thank you. Sit down. Okay, our lesson today will see us look at the conclusion of our work on mapping skills. So we will conclude the skills work in geography today, and then in our next lesson, we are going to move on to looking at the content. And for the content part, a booklet will be distributed, and the booklet will serve as a guideline for us to use for the completion of the content work. So we look at the conclusion now to our work on skills, and today I'd like us to correct the activity, first of all, on intervisibility, looking at cross sections, that is, and deciding whether 2 points or 2 features are visible or not. And we are going to use the 4 examples of the cross section that you constructed in one of the activities we did earlier on. So if you look at the 4 constructions now of the cross sections, you look at the first one for B. If you're looking at the cross section B, the question read, are the 2 points A to B intervisible? Our answer should be no. In other words, for that cross section B, A to B are not intervisible. And that should be our answer. So if we did draw a line, we're looking at that cross section B. From point A to point B, you note it is not intervisible simply because there is a high point between the 2 points. Okay, let's look at the next cross section, and that is for C. Are the 2 points A to B intervisible? Our answer should be no. And if we had to draw the line of sight from point A to point B, you would see that there is a high point here that actually blocks the view from this point to that point. So therefore, for cross section C, point A to B or point B to A is not intervisible. Okay, let's look at the cross section E. Again, the same question. Is point A to B intervisible? Our answer should be no. Simply because, again, from point A to point B, if we did draw the line of sight, you would have seen there are 2 high points that actually blocks the view from point A to point B or B to A. So we can say here that for this particular cross section, point A to point B is not intervisible. And finally, the last one, which is the contour map G, after you've constructed the cross section, is point A to B visible? And our answer is no. If we did draw the line of sight, point A to B, you will see there is a high point there that blocks the view, so you cannot see A from B or B from A. So the answer is not intervisible. So for all of those 4 cross sections, you would have noted that your answer should be not intervisible. And if we are talking about intervisibility, we come back to what we've looked at yesterday, and that is simply referring to when one feature can be seen from another feature or vice versa. And if the 2 features can be seen, then we can say that the 2 features are intervisible. If they cannot be seen, then we say the features are not intervisible. Let's look at the other cross-section map that you constructed some time back, looking at from X to Y, and we can refer also to the monitor. Very quickly, let's check to see. If we are standing at point A and somebody is down at point B, is A to B intervisible? Yes, definitely. How about from point A to point Y? It is not intervisible. Okay, so if we had to draw the line of sight, point A to point B, definitely visible. Therefore, we say point A to point B is intervisible, but point A, perhaps all the way down to point Y, is not intervisible because of this high point here that blocks the view. So A to B intervisible, A to Y not intervisible. Okay, and finally, to conclude our work now on mapping skills, we are going to do some activities, and our activities will be based on the map that each one of you have been given, and as well as that the following questions to go with that particular map. Okay, let's look at the questions now that you have been asked to actually complete for the completion of our work on mapping skills. First of all, the map given. The map contains contours. The map contains lines showing us or representing the different slopes of which you have to identify. And also note that the map has a scale, and the scale given on that map is 1:20,000, as well as that map that you have should contain the grid references, the eastings and the northings. So using all of those information presented on the map, the following questions that you are going to work on now are: 1, draw a contour section or a cross section from point A to E along the line given on your map, and then you are asked to use a vertical scale for your framework of 5 millimeters to 20 meters when you construct the cross section in your exercise book. That's activity number 1. Activity 2, you go to where it says state why points A and point E are not intervisible. So if you look at your map, point A to point E, you have to explain why point A to point E are not intervisible. But for you to be able to answer this question, you can refer to the cross-section that you would have constructed for activity 1. Okay, that's the second activity. You can circle. The third activity, calculate the gradient of the line from A to D. So calculate the gradient of the line A to D. Use the contours that are given and use the scale of the map for you to be able to do your calculation. Okay, we move on. The next activity, calculate the horizontal distance from A to E to the nearest 100 meters. So when you give your answer for that particular activity, you give your answer to the nearest 100 meter. The next activity, what are the grid reference for the following points B, D, and E? Use the map then for you to be able to come up with your answers. And finally, the last activity I'd like you to actually do using that same map will be you state what types of slope are represented by the following lines from F to G on your map, F to G, H to G, H to G on your map, and then I to J, I to J, and finally K to L. So we have K here to L. So just state what type of slope those particular contour patterns are actually showing. Those are the 5 activities that I'd like you to work on, and I'd like us to have some answers before the bell goes so we can correct. If you have any queries or problems with the completion of those activities, raise your hands and I'll come around and help you. Circle the ones that you are doing so that you know which ones. So the first one, number 1, okay, B, number 1B, number 2A only, sorry, the calculation of gradient and also calculating of distance. And number 3 and 4. Okay, which means you leave out 1A and 2B. Meanwhile, maybe I can check on that other cross section. Okay, title. Your title is not drawing a cross section, it's cross section from X to Y. Okay, good. Did you plot in the hat? Okay, then you'll have to put it in your cross section later. And maybe a point that needs to be stressed also when you are drawing, like you are at the top of a feature. If it is a plateau, like the Sogeri plateau, it will be a flat top. But if it is just another feature that you come to the top, it is advisable that you put not too high so that it becomes another meter or so, but just around that way rather than just a flat top. Check this one. The cross section looks okay. The distance is done. Yes, on the vertical axis, and then we're getting better with the cross sections. Okay, what is the contour interval of the map? If you know the contour interval of the map, if you know the value here, obviously this is 60, right? Because you said it's 20. And this point here will be 80. Good. Stop there, that's 80. Okay, you come to here. This is 60. There's a 80 here. So that means this one will have to be 100. Yes. You'll have to redo this again, simply because this does not look correct. This one here, this is the one for where's the activity that you've done, which contains the contour map, the worksheet that I gave out. This one. Here, this one. Is this what is shown here? Is this the cross section? This one. Is this for this one? Okay. It actually doesn't look really correct. So that means that you'll have to double check on your on the scale and on the spacing again of those different contour lines which appear on your cross section. I will ask for exercise books later on, and when I do ask, I will expect this to be corrected. So you have homework time, spend time to correct that one. No, I said to leave that out. Remember the second one, state why point A and point E are not intervisible. So circle this one you've done, B, 2, A, and 3, and 4. So On your construction of the cross-section, try to put in the line of sight from those 2 points so that you are able to actually decide for the next question whether the 2 points are intervisible or not. So you draw in the line of sight so that you can see whether the 2 points are intervisible or they are not intervisible. What scale did you use?
20.
Oh, you are using exercise book that way? Yeah? Okay, so that means 5, you have to go 5 millimeters according to the instruction for every 5 millimeters. Okay, which is about for every 5, half, that will be 20 meters. Okay. So put the vertical scale on first. This is is this the horizontal distance? This is from point A to point B, exactly the length? Yes. It stops here, so don't go over. You see the horizontal distance. Did you want this to be the horizontal distance or did you want it to be the vertical?
Horizontal.
Okay, so that means the distance between point A to point E must be the exact length of what you have on your piece of paper.
Okay.
So this 2 here is extra. And it will not be the equal spacing because it depends on how close together the contours are or how further apart they are. Why don't you do your graph this way? Yeah, the normal. Yeah, no, put it like normally when you open your book and you see it that way. So instead of, you see, that means you're going to read it like that, right? Why don't you just do it horizontal here and the vertical there? So remove this and put the vertical axis in. That's it, you have it there. That's the line of sight. Your diagram is different, you know why? Because you didn't use the vertical scale. What was the instruction on the vertical scale? 5 millimeters to 20 meters. So that is fine. If you were asked to do the construction in the test and a scale was given and you didn't use my scale, I would have given you no marks for it. But this is okay. You leave it as it is and you make note that the scale, next time when you are asked to put in a scale, you must use the scale which is given. If we did not give you any scale, then that's fine. You would do something like that because that means using your own scale to come up with the cross-section. But here it's given. The vertical scale must be for every 5 millimeters, you go up by 20 meters. Okay. But leave it as it is since you've done the constructing, and that's fine because that's what it would look like if we had another scale. Roll the line across there so that it's not hanging up there on its own. I'd like to be able to check on the first 3 activities before the end of the lesson. So if you are still on the first activity, try to work a little bit faster so that you can complete the second and the third one so we can correct together. Okay, move on to the next one, which is to calculate the gradient of the line A to D. Okay. So A to D, show you're working out for the calculation of gradient. That's why I said circle, so that you know exactly which ones you're supposed to do. I have not asked you to do this. Sorry, B, not this one here. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. And the last one, identify the type of slope. So now you have to go back to looking at what we have done on closer together, the slope, the further apart they are, if they're same distance apart, what type of slope are they called? So all you have to do is write the name of each of those slopes. F to G, name of the slope. No, no, you have to do that also, yes. 10.
No, I'm going to put it this way. Yeah.
Okay, so now you've got that done. Okay, can you label the axis now? Go 0. What's the highest point?
140.
140, so go.
Yeah, 120, 120.
Okay, so you go 0, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 20, 40, 60, 80. So you can come up a little bit, yeah, move it up a little bit. Okay, do the horizontal distance, calculate the horizontal distance along the points A to E, and give your answer to the nearest 100 meters. Don't forget to give your answer to the nearest 100 meters, to the nearest 100 meters. So if it is 2,660 to the nearest 100, that's it, yep. Okay. And check your units of measurement. According to the question, it says, calculate the horizontal distance and to the nearest 100 meters. So check your calculation, check your converting. Are you converting correctly to give your answer? Are you writing the units correctly? Is it supposed to be kilometers or is it supposed to be meters? You're doing that okay so far. You come here, and then why are you dividing by 100? Why are you dividing this by 100? To? You're trying to change this to kilometers. You check again. You got a distance of 13.3, right? And what is the 13.3? What unit is it in? Okay. Why are you multiplying by 20,000? Because the scale. So that 20,000, what unit are you using? 2 centimeters. Okay, so that means if you are going to multiply 13.3 times 20,000, you come up with whatever answer. And then that is 266,000, right? And you divide that by 100. Why? Why are you dividing by 100? You want to change? You want to change centimeters to meters. So the answer you get will be in meters, not kilometers. That's it. That's all. Okay, we're going to go through and check the answers now for those activities. Okay, we go back to the first question, the construction of the cross-section from A to E. Note that it is important you use the vertical scale because the scale has been given, so everyone should use the same scale of 5 millimeters for every 20 meters you go up. So you double check when we look at the answers, we should have the same shape of the graph because we are all using the same scale. Then you are supposed to calculate the gradient of the line from A to D. The next activity was to calculate the horizontal distance from A to E, but giving your answer to the nearest 100 meter or meters. Grid referencing, points B, D, and F. And the last activity, identifying the type of slope that have been represented by the lines F, G, H, G, I, J, and KL. Shall we look at the first one? You check your cross sections and you make corrections. Following the steps of how to construct a cross section, noting your vertical scale must be 5 millimeters to every 20 meters you go up. And therefore, once you've done your cross section, this is what it should look like. You double check. Okay, we're going from 20 up to 80, then down again, then up to 100. Just a little bit over 100 meters, that is. We come back down to about 50 meters, and we climb again up until we come to 120. Okay, that's for the first activity. And because the distance that you used from this point to that point is 5 millimeters, you will see that the exaggeration as shown by this graph here will be not as great as what you would have on your exercise or in your exercise book. So your slopes might not be as steep as what is shown here because of the scale that you have used. But to show you what the graph should look like, this is the general trend that it should follow if you plot it accurately. Okay, activity 2, to state why point A and E are not intervisible. In other words, we are already saying that these 2 points are not visible from each other. And you have to explain why. And your explanation should tell us that simply because there is a high point between point A and point B. There are areas which are higher than those 2 points in between. Therefore, one is not visible from the other. Do you all have answers similar to what I've given? Okay, good. If you've drawn the line of sight, you would have noted that easily from your cross-section. You're making your corrections as well. Okay, the next one, calculation of gradient between the 2 points A to D only. This is not from A to E. Some of you have gone all the way from A to E. The gradient is supposed to be calculated only between points A and D. So you check. The highest point is 100 meters. The lowest point is 20 meters. The vertical difference then will be 80 meters. The horizontal distance is between this point to that point. If you measured, you would have about, you've got 6.1, 6. Okay, so if it is going to be 6, then we'll need to make the correction there. 6, let's use 6 centimeters then. We use the scale of the map. Therefore, we are going to go 6 centimeters multiplied by 20,000, which is the scale of our map. And because I mentioned that I would like our gradient to be always given in the units of meters, therefore we divide by 100. And when we divide by 100, what will or what should we end up with? For the vertical difference, that is. Sorry, the horizontal distance, 1,200. Okay, we all check. Do we all have 1,200 meters? Okay, good. So if we have 1,200 meters, that will be the horizontal distance. We put 80 now over 1,200 meters. We simplify. And when we simplify, what would be our gradient after we've done all the simplifying? 1 over 15 or 1:15. Okay, we check and make corrections for that particular activity, 1 over 15 or 1:15. Okay, we look at this time the line, horizontal distance A to E. When you measure the distance in centimeters, what did you get? 13.2. Okay, we'll use 13.2 as actually shown here. If you had 13.3, maybe I will also accept 13.3. But let's use what is given here for the sake of knowing how to actually get our answer. Okay, let's say 13.2 is the answer in centimeters. We multiply that by the scale, which is 20,000. And because we want to give our answer in meters, the instruction says to give our answer to the nearest 100 meters. Therefore, we convert the centimeters here to meters by dividing by 100, and we end up with 1,640. Okay, 1,640 is our answer. To the nearest 100 meter, it will be 1,600. Those students who use 13.3, let's check. 13.3 times 20,000 divided by 100 will give us 1,660. Is that right? 2,660. Okay, for those students who used 13.2, you would end up with 2,660 meters, that is. Multiply by 20,000 divided by 100. Okay, to give the answer in meters. So 2,660 to the nearest 100 meter will be 2,700. Okay, so if you did get 2,700, you give yourself a tick. Okay, grid reference for point B. 205,170. Yes? Okay, that's for the first point, point B. Point D, 210,170. 210,170. Okay, and point F, 210,160. Happy with the answers for the grid reference? Okay, good. And finally, the line F to G, check the line F to G is supposed to be a gentle slope. The line H to G uniform. The contour lines are of the same distance apart. The line I to J is a concave. And for a concave, that means a slope that goes in as you get to the top of the feature or the bottom of the feature? Top of the feature, okay? The lines closer together at the top of the feature. And finally, line K to L is convex. The lines are closer together at the bottom of the feature. So I'll repeat, FG is a gentle slope, HG is uniform, IJ is concave, and KL is convex. And that will also conclude our work on mapping skills and general skills in geography. Okay, class, if you can now stand up. Lesson 17 it is. To the pilot teacher, our keyword is intervisibility. Good afternoon and thank you, students.